Now, the opening week of the World Cup is over, and there's certainly been no shortage of drama and upsets in Qatar. And most of the excitement has taken place on the pitch, defying fears that the first major tournament to take place in a Middle Eastern country could prompt unrest amongst fans unused to the stricter social conventions in the host country. And with Saudi Arabia upsetting pre-tournament favourite Argentina, the competition may succeed in its aim to engage the region in the joys of the beautiful game. Well, someone who's certainly enjoying the joys of that beautiful game is Arise international correspondent Faith Orr. She's in Doha. Let's cross over and speak to her. Great to see you, Faith. Have you seen any sign of any trouble or fan violence at any of the stadiums?
You know, I have to say that all of the fears really have been quite unfounded. I mean, there was a little bit of trouble today just before the Ghana match against South Korea outside the stadium. A group of Ghana fans had gathered. They didn't have tickets, but they weren't trying to push in, they weren't trying to do anything wrong. But the police did overreact a little bit, and the police did clear them out of that area. Now, I say overreact, it wasn't like they were particularly violent, it was just a bit of an overreaction, you know, a bit of pushing and shoving that was just a bit unnecessary. And if that is the worst that we are seeing, then that is pretty good for a football tournament. There were some incidents in some of the first games where the tickets weren't working and staff members had to walk down the queue of people to manually reset their apps, the ticketing apps, so that people could get into the stadium. So there has been those teething problems. I mean, Qatar is unorganised at times. You know, I've been here for a number of years, and it can be significantly unorganised. So I actually think things are going off pretty smoothly. You know, I've checked out the fan festival, everything, nothing's too crowded, everything seems to be working pretty well so far.
Well, that's good to know, because my next question was going to be your assessment 1 week in so far. But criticism that Qatar has received in the build-up to all of this, how have the fans, I mean, you mentioned a few scuffles here and there, reacted to all of that on the ground? Because some appear to be saying that some of that initial criticism was unfair.
Yes, we are hearing a lot of that from people that have come here, and actually they're enjoying themselves. You know, I've been speaking to some of the England fans that were over, and they seem to think that this is a fantastic place. I mean, we have seen official criticism, of course, from British MPs, from players, from managers, but most people are here for the football. And actually, I do believe we've just had a goal. You can probably hear that roar. As I was saying, most people are here for the football. I think that explains everything to you. I've also been speaking to some members of Qatar's LGBT community, and they aren't happy with the Western criticism. They think that it's undermining their cause, because actually the local population here is railing against it. They used to view the rainbow flag as just a symbol. Now they view it as an image of like Western racism towards Arab nations. And actually that's not doing the local LGBTQ population any favours whatsoever. So even the people here who are directly affected are telling the sort of commentators, you know, the critics, to back off.
And I've just been reliably told that Brazil scored there. That was that mighty yell whilst you were speaking. But not to worry, they didn't drown you out. And tell us, Faith, about the Iran-USA match coming up tomorrow. I mean, how important is that politically and symbolically?
Well, do you know, it's very important for a number of reasons, not least of which mostly Iranian fans don't get to go to the World Cup. You know, their passports aren't widely accepted in a number of nations. So they do get to come to Qatar. They get to come to this World Cup. They get to support their team. As we've seen, the team has been protesting, you know, in favour of the women who are protesting in Iran. It was all sparked in September with the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. Now we're seeing protests here, you know. I've seen women, you know, even at music festivals holding up flags, revolution. There has also been the US team on their social media, when they were posting the Iranian flag, they missed off the emblem of the Islamic Republic. Now, Iran now wants a 10-game suspension for the US, which is effectively having them kicked out of the competition. FIFA hasn't responded to that yet. It's unlikely that that is going to happen, but certainly the US poking at them there, although they have since done a U-turn on that. The flag that is now displayed on their social media platforms is the Iranian flag in full. But you know, there's lots of Iran fans here, and it's quite nice to see them, because you can't equate the fans and the team to the government. It's not the same thing. You know, the people that are here are protesting against the government as well as the players, whereas, you know, the government itself, you know, it's not so welcome. And it's not just Iran that this is happening with. You know, we're seeing people from Israel coming here. You know, Qatar is saying everyone is welcome. Well, actually, that's not entirely true, because Israeli journalists are having a really hard time trying to get anyone to speak to them. Arab nations, of course, very much in favour of Palestine and the Palestinian cause. So there's elements of that, but it is bringing Arab nations together, especially Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which haven't always been the best of friends.
Okay, Faith, thanks very much indeed. We really appreciate that assessment from you. Faith Orr is Arise international correspondent, and she was talking to me there from Doha.